All right, I'm here with Joe Frillman from Daisies in Chicago, and we're just kind of rapping together about some of the cool creative things that he has done as a business owner to, sort of stay a little bit ahead of the COVID curve, if that's possible. And, I kind of wanted to interview Joe and ask him a couple questions just because I think he's been really nimble through this time and been really creative with some of his revenue streams. So, hi, Joe.
Hi. How's it going?
Tell us first, start out talking a little bit about your concept in general, pre-COVID, like kind of what is your concept?
Yeah, so we opened in 2017. My brother has been farming since 2012. He kind of took over some family property. I took a couple-year break from restaurants, and when I came back, well, in doing so, he had been supplying all the restaurants that I was working at, and once I had left, it wasn't a guarantee that people were gonna continue to purchase from him. So he lost a couple accounts in that regard, and I felt the need to kind of come back and help him out because I kind of convinced him to go into farming to help out the restaurants. And so this whole restaurant concept for me, I've been in Italian-inspired restaurants my whole career. What I wanted to do was possibly, because I've been doing it for so long, but through the lens of what a Midwestern individual like myself, growing up in the north suburbs of Chicago here, I'm not from Italy. I don't have an Italian heritage. I've just worked in Italian-inspired restaurants. I've spent some time there. But it was like, what does Midwest Italian food look like? It's kind of more of a philosophy of what we were doing. To me, the Italian philosophy is that you eat what's in season, what's around you as close as you possibly can get it, as fresh as you possibly can get it, and as simply as you can present it. So with having this awesome resource that my brother, he had an 8-acre farm, he now has a 30-acre farm.
Wow.
We wanted to drive as much of that produce through the restaurant and the menu. So we have him, we work hand in hand. He's just about 90 miles outside of the city of Chicago. His food and his produce drives what we do here, did drive, and it still does. But we focus the whole restaurant around vegetables as the main focus. It's not a vegetarian restaurant by any means, but it's basically pasta and produce, vegetables. And there's Midwestern inspiration, there's Italian inspiration. And with the pasta, we do traditional shapes. Everything's made by hand. We will use a sheeter from time to time, but we don't extrude anything, so it's very labor intensive. Menu changes all the time with seasons. And that led us to where we are now with, again, it kind of came out of a desire to help a family member who I had, committed to buying his product as well. In the city of Chicago, when they shut everything down originally, it was just the start of the growing season. Everything had already been planted for the most part, and it was going to come. And he didn't have as many outlets for his produce and his resources that we had pre-COVID because a lot of the restaurants were shut down. So he lost a ton of his accounts. The farmers markets were all shut down here. So we closed the restaurant and essentially ripped out, I might be getting ahead of myself here, but ripped out the back room.
That's all right. I was just going to say, hold on a second. Well, no, that's awesome, first of all. And like your concept in general and how you've associated it with your family is super cool, I think. I want to touch a little bit on, just because we're getting close on time, on, so you've got this Midwestern Italian concept, right, which is actually pretty well suited for some of the revenue streams that you've picked up. So you've gotten like your kind of grocer's license and started doing grocery in a section of your restaurant. You've started doing some wholesaling to some other purveyors, as I understand it, right? And then now you're kind of lifting off this sort of meal delivery kind of kit that you're using Thanksgiving as a kickoff for. So touch a little bit on those revenue streams and just kind of how you guys as a team have really had to kind of, adapt your model to COVID, right?
Yeah, for sure. And going into the growing season, he had all his produce, didn't have an outlet for it, they closed all the markets. Prior to this restaurant in the business plan, we had already written in to open like a grocery farm stand because we have this resource. Like putting a farm stand in the city of Chicago, which is a direct outlet for his product, was something that was interesting to us.
Yeah.
We just didn't have the money or the space to do it when we were opening. When this happened and all his markets were closed, he didn't have anywhere to take his product. So we said, hey, we will basically open a grocery store inside because the grocery stores were still allowed to do their business. It was considered an essential service. So we already have our retail food license already covers grocery stores. So we can already retail to the general public. So we didn't have to get any other licensing in the city of Chicago. But we did make, we got a PPP loan, we got an EIDL, and that helped us out. What it allowed us to do as well as reallocate some of our resources. We built out our entire back room to be a completely standalone grocery store. We put in refrigeration, display cooler, and what it allowed us to do is sell our product, which we make in-house, which is handmade pasta, but also his produce at all times. So with the seasons and the changes, we have his produce that's on display at all times, our products that we sell bottled cocktails, pasta sauces, dips, you name it, anything that we gravy, stock. People come in and they buy.
Hell yeah! Hell yeah!
Fortunately, across the street from us, they put in a giant condominium with like 200 units. So, and there's no grocery stores around here. So we kind of became this boutique grocer. You can come in and get dried pasta. You can get products from our neighbors in the neighborhood. We don't charge them shelf space. We basically take a wholesale on. We try to give them as much, money on their end as we possibly can. It helps them sell their product here. Sundays, we turned the restaurant into a farmer's market where vendors come and they sell their products, but it also brings people into our grocery store.
Very cool.
We started doing lunch. When lunch was always on the docket, but it was definitely going to be a sit-down situation with more table service. We scrapped all that because of COVID, and now it's basically sandwiches. It's like 8 rotating sandwiches. The farm still runs through everything. We still use all farm veg as much as possible, farm poultry, eggs, etc. We use local bakers that we're trying to, sustain their businesses if they lost a ton of accounts. So the sandwich opportunity, that's been going like unbelievable because we were also where we were located, there's not a ton of sandwiches here. Then also,
tell me about a little bit. I just want to kind of show off a little bit about your Thanksgiving plan because as I understand it, you're basically matching a week's worth of sales with your Thanksgiving take home.
Yeah, so it started out with kits, and we had all these kits available. We can sell the kits online. People can pick them up to make our pasta. We include instructions. We include everything's cut and ready to go. It's basically just the a la minute cooking to make the product better was the kit. We wanted to do it with Thanksgiving, and basically we have a HACCP program. We're HACCP certified, so we're allowed to sous vide and cryovac. And so we basically are sous videing all of the turkeys ahead of time, and including instructions on how to retherm, but also all of their sides, which are either baked and ready to be reheated, or they are going to bake them themselves, packaged it into a kit for 4. And we're selling those. We've sold out. We sold out today. 2 days into offering it, we sold out for the entire week. And it's the kit is $240. It feeds 4 people for Thanksgiving. It includes everything from starters to desserts. And we sold 150 of them. That was what we crushed. Just that alone. That doesn't even include wine sales. We did a wine package of 3. We did, other starters. They can also order all things. All the sides and the pies can be ordered a la carte. So, and it's cold. It's no heating. Day of, we literally hand them a bag. They do all they get the instructions. They do it. What that's going to parlay into for us is we're going to start doing that for home delivery, where it's basically a monthly subscription. 3 meals per week are delivered to their door as a kit, and then they get to do the finishing touches. You get a restaurant quality meal with the fancy science of circulating and sous vide.
And some of that you'll be able to deliver just even to the condos right across the street, right? Like
absolutely. And they can also, what we're going to start doing, those kits are available in our grocery store. So as soon as we can get people back inside the grocery, which in a couple of weeks when we will reopen, people can shop in store. Those kits will also be in there so they can pick them up a la carte. So it's offered, it's made a huge difference in our, the crazy thing with all these revenue streams that we've been able to do, I think 2 weeks ago, we almost matched our year-over-year sales from the previous week. from the previous year. So a ton of other, revenue streams and a massive headache for the logistics of it. But the great thing is we can pull all this stuff out after this. And now we have a sandwich restaurant. Now we have an in-home meal service, delivery straight to your door business that we can build upon. We have a grocery store that we can build upon, and we just purchased a wholesale tinned fish company that we can now provide.
What I love about this, Joe, is that you saw this as an opportunity, right? This challenge is an opportunity. And yeah, it sucks, right? We all know everyone's like going through hell and high water during this time, and that's terrible. But what I really love about this story and kind of why I wanted to interview for this is because you see this as an opportunity. You've been open-minded, open-spirited, and willing to kind of, like I said earlier, just sort of be nimble and, flex where you can. And you've really done a good job, I think, of fostering these revenue streams. So, thank you so much for letting me do this interview. And
thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, but I also couldn't have done a lot of this stuff without RSI. No joke. You guys have made a lot of this stuff easier. It allows me to have the time to focus on this kind of stuff, which I've never had the chance to do before. You guys came along at the absolute perfect time for us to do this stuff.
Good. And you know what? I'll never forget, actually, this will be kind of sappy, but you were actually one of my very first clients because I answered a phone call and you were currently payroll only. And you were like, hey, I want to know more about going full line or whatever. And then a few months later, here you are full line. So it's really exciting to see, even though you're going through this challenge, obviously, and that it's tough, just like what you're up to. And I wanted to share that with some of our other clients. So
for sure. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks a lot, man. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Thank you.